How to go public and raise money with confidence. This is not legal or investment advice. Seek competent advice. Your situation may vary, and the more you know about finance and business, the more you can profit. You are now going to learn why I'm eager and excited about assisting you with your reverse merger or IPO. How do I know that I can take your company for a rocket ride, exponentially increasing your valuation? How do I know that I can get the maximum funding for you at the minimum dilution? Briefly, let me tell you the history behind the skills I use to produce results for you. As I show you how I learned these skills, I ask you to imagine that you are me and go through the learning experiences that I went through. Years ago, after studying to be a teacher, I dropped out of college. My father told me if I wanted him to support me, I had to plot his commodity charts. I was amazed to discover that I could guess which way the markets were going to trade the next day. I asked my dad for books on this miracle, and he gave me all his stock and commodity trading books, a stack about 4 feet high. I was so excited I read them all in 1 week. Do you know how it feels when you find something you have a natural skill for? Do you know how it feels to be in a peak experience? This was me. As I was underage, he gave his secretary power of attorney on a small account, and through her I commenced making large returns on a small amount of money. Now it was even more exciting playing with real money. Entranced, I then landed a clerk's job in the OTC stock department of EF Hutton at $65 per week take-home pay. I copied trades by hand all day long, but I loved it. Recognizing my ability, they moved me up. Before I turned 21, I was the assistant market maker, the number 2 position, rising over old traders. Every waking moment outside of EF Hutton, I was reading about stocks. Friday close of trading was disappointing because I had to go 2 days without stock trading, but I could read books. Next step, I was hired away from EF Hutton by a New York Stock Exchange firm as a full trader. The boss soon hated me, as by myself with only 50 grand in capital I could make as much as he did with $1 million in assistants. The stocks I picked consistently doubled or tripled in 6 months to a year. Home run stocks. I soon had a stock that went up 700% in 18 months. I was spending all my time reading annual reports and books. Can you imagine being that obsessed and the skills you could develop? I went back to NYU and got my degree in business statistics. I was a quant. When you have my real-world experiences, you can evaluate risk better than any university statistics professor. Trust me. Next learning experience was when I was VP of trading for a New York underwriting house. I traded all the new issues we underwrote and IPOs we got from a syndicate group of over 40 New York Stock Exchange regional brokers. That is a ton of new issues you have to study and trade. Then the best thing, I had to attend countless IPO dog and pony shows and watch the bankers and the brokers question those IPO companies. When you go through this, you soon discover what would be attractive and what would be avoided. If you are like me, this was your doctorate in stock trading. I had to know what would happen as I had to trade these IPOs. I got half the profits and I took half the losses in my monthly paycheck. How would it feel for you to bet your career every day on being right in the stock market? Be wrong and be unemployed. Be right and get a fat check. Does that appeal to you? During my 2 years at this firm, I made 300% per year returns on my trading accounts. With this knowledge, I had 23 months of profits and only 1 with a tiny loss. It's good to know you're right, isn't it? The lovely thing about stock trading is that the results are definite in cash and not a matter of opinion. The stocks I recommended generally doubled or tripled in 6 months or a year. One stock I bought was up 500% in 6 weeks, $15 to $75. Several years afterward, I wrote How to Find a Home Run Stock based on my theories and proven results. However, about that time, I found stocks were overpriced and I could not find any cheap stocks to buy. What would you have done? You can find cheap stocks successfully, but there are none. How would you live? It took me a month to realize I could use what I knew to build companies. I could add things to public companies that attracted investors and built value. I did this during the internet boom. I built 3 startups from nothing to 100 million or more in market value. 3 in the same year. One was a reverse merger that took the stock from $1.50 to $15 in 8 months. In another of these, the shareholder support was so strong I was accused of starting a cult. Brace yourself. All these startups collapsed because I relied on others to build the company internally, and they failed. I thought everyone knew how to build companies like my father. He made it look easy, but it wasn't. Fortunately, I had learned from my childhood on from my father how to build companies. When I was 6, he was made executive vice president of a small chemical company. He put $50 in this company and sold out for $50,000 in 4 years. Money was worth more in those days. He then ran a small public company for 7 years. The stock price essentially doubled every year for those 7 years. It went from 2 to 128. I watched him do this and started to understand what he was doing. Next, he ran a New York Stock Exchange company for 30 years. He increased the dividend every year and held the record on the entire New York Stock Exchange for consecutive years of dividend increases. His return on equity was matched only by the 3 great growth companies of that era, IBM, Xerox, and 3M. The final step was 8 years ago when I was hired to advise on reverse merger deals. When I wrote my book on picking hot reverse merger stocks, I used a model account to prove my theories. Would you be proud to say that your model account was up 400% in 2 months? Now, look back and ask yourself, what did I learn from all this? Imagine having all this experience in your head. What did you learn? What could you now do? Here, let's list what you would now know. First, you would know fast growth is available much more than most people think. Second, you would see that there are few, if any, real limits on stock market success. Third, you would know what investors want. In fact, a few years back, one of my research report stocks went up 40 times in 6 months. Yeah, I admit it was more than I expected, but it's still phenomenal. Fourth, you would be confident you know how stocks trade. Fifth, you would know IPOs inside and out, underwriting, selling, and trading. Sixth, you would know what underwriters want as you have watched them and had been one. Their needs are entirely different than you think. Seventh, you would know the power of IPOs and reverse mergers to get fast access to money and create wealth. Don't you now feel eager and excited to play the game? Do you see that it is possible to get huge returns, more than most people ever dream of? Pretty easy to feel confident now, isn't it? Now, every time you think about your company's financing, you find yourself eager and excited to go for it, right? So you now know what I live for. Some say I'm trying to beat my father's records. My only question is this: do you have what I need to bring these skills to bear? Can you stand the challenge of the rocket ride? Are you willing to go all out and commit to achieving something meaningful in the world? Something we can all be proud of? If so, let's roll. I see a time, say 1 year from now, after we finance your fast reverse merger or IPO, when you are building your dream with that war chest of money, and we can look back on this as having been the start of you achieving what is important to you. Isn't that what you really want? Now, I do not know if you want me to do a reverse merger so you can get public fast, or you want a full IPO. But either way, it is easy to understand that these skills can add huge value to your company and its securities. Isn't that what you really want? I look forward to talking with you. Questions, email me at john.lux@securities-law.info. Phone is 240-200-4529. Get my books on Amazon, like How the Shorts Raid Your Stock, Destroy Your Company, What to Do About It, or Bash the Stock Bashers, or How to Find a Home Run Stock.